With the Battlefield 6 beta coming to a close very shortly, I thought I would give my honest thoughts on the beta so far, what I liked about it, what I didn't like about it, and just overall going over my thoughts on it as a Call of Duty fan. I would definitely consider myself more of a Battlefield casual. I've played all of the games before, but I haven't put a ton of time into it. Battlefield 6, however, I've been playing a lot of over the past 2 weekends, and I definitely think I have a lot of things to say about this game. Starting off with the positives, the game feels really good. Now, I do have to say, it doesn't feel great until you adjust your settings substantially. I had to sit through the settings for like 30 minutes fixing a bunch of stuff to make it actually feel good, but once you get those settings tuned properly, it does feel really, really smooth. I feel like Battlefield games usually feel pretty smooth. I've never played one and felt like it was awful, at least for its time. Obviously, going back to like the older games like Bad Company 2 nowadays, it's not going to feel great, but back then that was perfectly fine, as is every Battlefield game nowadays. The way it feels to shoot guns, the way it feels to move around, to slide, everything just feels very, very clean, and that's obviously a good thing. And it doesn't just feel good, but it also looks really good, it sounds really good, especially just getting into gunfights with other players. The sound of the gunshots and the hit markers and the animations when you reload and when you slide, like everything just looks so clean and smooth. And the destruction especially looks amazing. There's so many moments that are so cinematic when it comes to something just being destroyed, like a building collapsing right under you and just seeing everything fall down, or even the way vehicles look when you see them in the distance. Like everything just looks so cinematic, and that's just what Battlefield is meant for. It's meant for those really large scale cinematic moments, and I would say so far this game does that pretty well. Not amazingly, we'll get to that in the negatives. There's a couple negatives there, but in general, the Battlefield feel is there and it feels really good. Something I absolutely love about this game is the Pick 100 class system. So this is something that's new for Battlefield, where the attachments have different point values when you apply them to the gun, and you can get a total of 100 points worth of attachments. I think the system is really cool because it allows you to look at the attachments and really think about which one you're going to attached to your gun, because obviously if it costs too many points, you might consider not using it because you might want to use some other attachments. I do wish this system was built around the entire class, not just the attachments, but I think for Battlefield's sake, this does make more sense. I would like to see something similar to this in Call of Duty. It was kind of annoying that Call of Duty fans have been asking for some sort of Pick 10 system to return, and then Battlefield does something a little bit closer to it than what Call of Duty's been doing recently. It's not really Pick 10, but it's closer. And overall, I'm just glad to see that in Battlefield. I think it definitely works nicely, and it's been really fun to customize my weapons in this game. This next positive, I don't really know if I personally would consider it a positive or maybe even possibly a negative, because I do think this just should be something by default, but there is one specific mode for it. I'm glad they at least have the mode instead of not having it at all, but again, I do think it should probably just be the default of the game, and that is the whole closed weapons game mode. So closed weapons essentially just means there are specific weapons that are tied to specific classes. That has been something that's been a staple to Battlefield for a long time, and it was something that Battlefield 2042 was the first game to break away from. They let you use any gun on any class, and obviously Battlefield fans are not happy about that. And even though I consider myself more of a Battlefield casual, even I was not happy with that. I don't think that's a good change to make. I think when a franchise has something that's so close to its core, it's so close to the fundamental foundation of what that game is meant to be like, you shouldn't change it. You really shouldn't. And I get the reason they changed it is because they wanted to give players more freedom. They wanted players to feel like they can use anything on any class, and that's something that a lot of gamers nowadays just really like. I mean, look at Call of Duty. They've been doing plenty of things over the past few years that just been like giving players more freedom in various ways. But sometimes in some situations, restrictions are a good thing, especially if it's to balance a PvP game out. And I think that balance in Battlefield was really important, to have class locked weapons. It is nice that there's a mode there, so I'm going to just say this is a positive because it's definitely better if the mode wasn't there at all, but I would like to say I do think this should just be a default in the game across the board. But they did make it so specific weapons have specific advantages in the regular mode, so you still are encouraged to use those specific weapons, but you can still use whatever you want on any class. The last positive I have are a few of the maps in this game are absolutely incredible. I really love Empire State. That's definitely my favorite so far. Obviously, it being in New York City, it's just a pretty cool location to have, but it plays very, very well, specifically in Conquest. Conquest is my main mode of choice. Iberian Offensive is also pretty good. I don't think it's as good as Empire State, but it's still pretty fun. And then Siege of Cairo is also really, really fun. All three of these in Conquest. I played a couple of them in the other modes as well. I don't enjoy those modes as much, but playing these in Conquest, I love them. There's a lot of close quarters areas, but there's also some longer lines of sight that allow for snipers and longer range weapons to do well in, but there's enough close quarters areas that I do feel like I could play well as someone who loves to use SMGs or assault rifles, and there's lots of cool areas for destruction. Overall, I just enjoy these maps quite a bit. Now let's get into negatives, and I wanted to start off with the other map that I did not talk about in the positives that I really don't like, and that is Liberation Peak. I think this map is just downright bad, but it is of course just my own personal opinion, because I completely understand that a lot of people are going to love this map, and I get it, because you probably all have your own reasons for liking specific maps. If you are someone who loves sniping, you love really long open maps that have a lot of long lines of sight, you're probably going to like this map. It's great for sniping. Sitting in the mountain and just sniping anyone that walks by, like, you're certainly going to enjoy it for that. But as someone who, like I said, loves to use SMGs, I love to run and gun, this is just not a map for me at all. Like, this map does not do anything for me. But even if I'm trying to just, actually play the map in the way that it's intended to play, I still don't really enjoy it. I don't like the flow of it. I don't like each of the flags on Conquest and how they play. I've just not been a fan of this experience. I'm not a fan of the overall layout of the entire map and how it's basically one giant, like, oval almost. I'm just not a fan of it personally. I just don't think it plays well. The next negative I have is something that I'm sure will be addressed in the full game when we get all of the maps, but currently right now, I don't feel like any of these maps really have that full large scale that Battlefield should have. Now, obviously I've said before, I do think I like the feel of this game overall. It does feel like a Battlefield game, but there's no map that's really big, large scale, like giant skyscrapers. I mean, you go back to a lot of the prior Battlefield games, they've all kind of had a map like that was just so insane and unique and had a lot of unique features to it. And although I do love a lot of the maps in this game, they're really fun, I just don't think any of the beta maps in this game have those elements that really set it apart. I mean, even going back to the Battlefield 1 beta, I played that beta a lot. I love the map with the horses and the train. Like, that was a very unique thing that set it apart from a lot of the other maps. Battlefield 2042, even though a lot of people didn't like that game, the map with the tornado, like, that was really cool. That set it apart, and that was something that was exciting to see. But these maps, to me, don't really have those unique elements, and they don't have that large scale crazy stuff that Battlefield is known for in the same way. It's a much more simpler and kind of smaller scale for what I would expect out of a Battlefield game. But again, the other maps in the game could definitely present that. They can definitely show that. Maybe they wanted the beta maps to be a little bit smaller just to appeal to a wider player base. I'm not really sure. But even though I like these maps, I do hope that the full game goes a lot grander with the size. This next thing is something I'm also not 100% confident in if I actually hated it or not, but the time to kill felt a little bit too fast in Battlefield 6. Now, in general, I do tend to prefer slower time to kills in first-person shooter video games. Well, like online video games, of course. I feel that way in Call of Duty. I always prefer when the time to kill is a bit slower just because it increases the skill gap. It also makes it so you have more control over your gunfights. You're not getting as many random deaths. You also don't have to deal with people who just sit in a corner and aim their gun at like a door frame and just wait for you to walk through. And the second you walk through, you just instantly get killed because if the time to kill is slower, you have enough time to run in there and still fight back. If you're good enough, and assuming that other player's not that great, then you're able to actually fight back, which again is why it increases the skill gap. And I just prefer that overall. Even in Battlefield, I prefer that. I mean, Battlefield 5, I felt like had a pretty solid time to kill that I enjoyed quite a bit. It's probably one of the reasons I really enjoyed Battlefield 5. Well, the time to kill does feel a little bit too quick here. It's a little inconsistent. I've had moments where it feels perfectly fine, but then other moments where it feels really fast. It just kind of depends. Obviously, if you're at a distance, I don't think the time to kill is bad because the guns in this game do have a decent amount of recoil. Not all guns, but a lot of them do. So obviously, the time to kill at a distance is perfectly fine. But this is mainly when you're up close and personal. I don't like how quickly you delete people and how quickly they can delete you as well. I feel like it needs to be just a smidge slower. I get it's a Battlefield game, and most Battlefield fans probably prefer it like this, whether it's because they consider it more realistic or they just consider that to be more fun. I don't really know, but in general, I think it should be just a tiny bit slower. Another thing I wasn't a fan of is the way the lighting changes so significantly when you're inside of a building versus outside of a building. Now, this is obviously very realistic. If you're ever inside of a house and it's really bright outside and you walk out, you're going to get this big flash of light in your eyes that kind of like blinds you for a second. Like, sure, that's kind of a little bit realistic. I mean, it depends on the situation, of course. It's not always realistic, but there's times where it is. But I don't think it works that well in this game. And it's especially noticeable on Liberation Peak, which is probably why I don't like that map. Because when you walk outside on that map, oh my God, you get blinded blinded. And so if you're walking outside and there's enemies out there, you're done. Like you can't see shit. And even just trying to look out the window, you can't see shit. Now, at first, I thought that was actually kind of a cool element because I was thinking to myself, if somebody's camping in a building and they try looking out the window, it's going to be very hard for them to see because of how the lighting works in this game. And I actually thought that was pretty cool. But when you actually walk out there, like, it shouldn't still be blinding me, and it's just not good for gameplay whatsoever, in my opinion, and actually makes the graphics look kind of weird sometimes. Like, the graphics of this game are very, very good, but in those moments, I'm just sitting there like, bro, I can't see what I'm shooting at. I can't see what I'm looking at. I want them to definitely fix that a bit. I don't know if they're doing that for the sake of realism, but like I said, I don't think realism should ever come in the place of just overall gameplay balance. And by far, one of the worst things about this game is the goddamn UI. This might be the worst UI I have ever seen in a video game in my entire life. And of course, it's a beta. They can definitely fix this for the full game. But oh my god, every element of this UI is terrible. Not even just the menu itself. Obviously, the menu doesn't look great. Some people say, well, what does it matter? It's just the menu. It's not a big deal. I think it's a big deal because you are in the menu for a decent amount of time. But it's not just the menu. It's the menu. It's the create a class menu. It's the settings menu. When you're trying to look through the settings, that was a nightmare trying to find my way around those settings. And even the UI, when you're looking at the map, when you're trying to spawn in somewhere in Conquest, it's terrible. You have to scroll around with your controller stick, and very often it won't latch on to the objectives you're trying to spawn at. So you have to really adjust it in a very specific way to get it to actually click on the thing you're trying to click on. And sometimes you click on the wrong thing because of that. And I just don't like it whatsoever. It's a bad UI. They definitely need to work on that significantly. But overall, those are my honest thoughts on Battlefield 6 so far. I am really enjoying this beta. I think it is a great time, and I'm definitely looking forward to the full game in October because I really do think this is going to be one of the best Battlefield games we've seen, probably even ever. I think it has potential for it. But obviously, I'm a Battlefield casual, as I mentioned before, so even when the full game comes out, I'm probably not going to play it a ton, but I'm still looking forward to playing it nonetheless. And I tend to enjoy pretty much every Battlefield game. Even Battlefield 2042, I did enjoy. So definitely take what I said with a grain of salt in this video. Hopefully you guys enjoyed. I will see you all in my next one. Peace out.